Hello and welcome along to Chatterbox, and it's me, Gordon Clark here, and today I have got Fiona Evans and Hayley Clinton with me, who are here to talk all about breastfeeding in Medway and the support that's available to all new mums. Hello Hayley and hello Fiona.
Hello.
I did a interview on breastfeeding a while ago, and at that time I believe Medway had probably the lowest breastfeeding in the country, and we're trying to campaign then to get people to breastfeed, but also to get restaurants and cafes and things to open up to welcome breastfeeding. So that in mind, why are we doing this time?
We've had a variety of infant feeding strategies within Medway from 2011 to 2018, and we are just refreshing the infant feeding strategies for this year. For the most recent piece of work, the New Beside You website and campaign to normalise breastfeeding has come about due to some Family Hub Start for Life funding that's been able to inject some money into much needed update to the website, and to sort of recognise the changes that have probably happened in the last 5 years around the support available, and kind of updating that really. So that's kind of why the website's being changed now. So it's come at a really nice time, as I said, with the infant feeding strategy refresh as well. I don't know if you want.
Shall I give you a bit of background as to where we are in Medway at the moment? So I think demographically we in the southeast, we're not the worst areas by a long shot, and we're considered to be an affluent area in some ways. But what we find is that currently our statistics range between about 66% initiation to this month we've had sort of 72% initiation, so the number of families who are actually starting to breastfeed their babies, and that figure's been relatively static for the last 5 or so years, and it dips and twists around, and obviously that depends on lots of factors, including how babies are born, but also has a very big cultural impact as well. So where you were born, where you come from originally, where your family are, what your belief system is, that all impacts whether babies start their lives in the breastfeeding journey or not. And so from the perspective of whether we've got better or worse, or why we're doing this campaign, actually breastfeeding is an intervention as such that improves health outcomes for all of our babies, and certainly our most vulnerable populations benefit the most from breastfeeding, and they are also the ones who are the least likely to breastfeed. So even if we were up in the 80-90% initiation rates, actually the whole purpose of the campaign is to ensure that everybody gets really good information and support regardless of where they start their journey, and that they can continue to their journey for as long as they physically want to. And that is why Beside You is so important, because we need to reach as many families in as many different ways as possible so that they know where to go for help and support, and actually have really good knowledge about what their journey might look like and how to make their journey better.
Most people, I suppose, have their babies in hospital, so I guess their breastfeeding journey starts there. And with the home, excuse my ignorance on it, but I presume, does everybody have midwives at their birth? Is that?
You can birth without a midwife, and sometimes babies are born by accident without a midwife at home. That happens occasionally, but in the majority of cases, you're right in that most babies are born in a hospital environment now, and they're attended by a midwife. In this country, that's the norm. Midwives look after all of our families, and sometimes in partnership with a doctor and obstetrician as well, and other healthcare professionals. But yeah, most of our babies are born in hospital, and that does have an impact actually on feeding, because you're then subject to the processes and routines of hospital life, but also want to go home, and so that can impact your ability to feed your baby, because you become subject to the rules and regulations of hospital, which is like, we need to see your baby feed before you can go home. But if that's not happening because your baby is sleepy or reluctant, then you might end up being pushed into a pathway of giving an alternative feed, like a formula feed, rather than being given the space and time to get that breastfeeding established. So, those practices, being born in hospital is not a particularly positive force for breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is part of the whole journey of pregnancy. So although you don't start feeding your baby until your baby is born, you actually have lots of preparation prior to having your baby for around breastfeeding. So it's kind of part of the whole pregnancy journey.
It seems silly, but how do you then start breastfeeding?
Ultimately, you put the baby to the breast, or you bring your baby into skin contact, and allow your baby to start to do all of the behaviours that help them to come to the breast and feed effectively. Babies are born with an innate skill and ability to climb to the breast and self-attach. Unfortunately, we get in the way a little bit sometimes in hospitals, but also in our general practices now, because some of the ways that babies are born impacts their abilities and their skills at birth, which means that they maybe take longer to go through those routine behaviours, and then we start to worry about babies, so we help them along the way. But ultimately, it's as simple as place your baby near the breast, make sure your baby is not hindered by clothing or of their own or your own, and allow them to go through their 9 stages of behaviour that are designed to get them to the breast to feed effectively and then to sleep.
Okay, so it's a natural reaction almost.
Yeah, it's a natural process following birth. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I know, I've come across people who've sort of said, can't go out because it's going to be near feeding time and that. But of course, one of the things that we're trying to do is get people to be more aware that breastfeeding is encouraged in all sorts of places now, in cafes and, as I said it earlier, restaurants and things. Now, is that part of what the campaign's doing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you alluded to it before, and there's a lot more work that's been done, and we work very closely with Hayley and the community colleagues of MCH to try and to kind of be reflective of what's happening out in the community, but also understand what we know is happening wider from a breastfeeding perspective. And, many mums feel quite daunted by the idea of feeding out and about, and so the breastfeeding campaign Beside You is about normalising it. And there's only, I guess, a fraction of the hard work that mum needs to do. Actually, it's about society making those changes to support mum. So it's about the partner, it's the family, it's the support network around a mum that kind of champions her and motivates her and empowers her to kind of feel comfortable to be out and about and feeding. And I guess for a new mum, those things are going to be quite challenging for the first time as they start to develop, as Hayley says, developing those skills and having time to learn that. But hopefully over time, with subsequent pregnancies and babies, for example, the confidence has increased. But what we can do within Beside You is work with our businesses for them to understand the law around breastfeeding in public, so in their venues, for example, and making sure that they're quite public about their support for breastfeeding. So a mum that's feeling quite anxious would be able to see one of our window stickers, and they can recognise that place is maybe going above and beyond what's expected, because we expect all businesses to be supporting breastfeeding from a workplace perspective, but also, like you say, cafes and restaurants. But that sticker is there to kind of say, come in, we'll welcome you, we'll get you a glass of water, you can have a comfortable place to sit, for example, and kind of creating a healthy environment around breastfeeding in Medway that's supportive and empowering.
Yeah. Okay, I just picked up something you said there about, you mentioned the law. There isn't anywhere that you can't breastfeed. It's against the law to breastfeed.
No, but up until 2011, there was no law in England that protected you from being stopped breastfeeding in public. So we're very much behind the curve in comparison to other countries, in that up until 2011, you weren't supported to feed. Oh, it's 2010 actually. October 2010 was when the law was passed in England that said that you are able to feed your baby anywhere, and that nobody can stop you and nobody has a right to stop you from feeding your baby in public.
If people want information on anything to do with the breastfeeding side of it, you've got this website now, Beside You Medway. and I've had a look at it. I mean, the realms of information on there is fantastic, and it. I think people, even before they've had the birth, while they're still pregnant, there's information on the website for them on there as well.
Yeah, so we designed the website to ensure that it kind of covered all aspects of a mum and a partner's journey through pregnancy to baby being there. So we've tried to ensure that the website has information around hospital bag, so that they can get familiar with the website and know where to go for support, because Hayley and so on, in those early days and weeks, it can be quite challenging, with lack of sleep or trying to navigate being a new parent, for example. So if you know where to go for support before you've had baby, then you're more likely to access that at a later date. So obviously the website then covers going through physical challenges or mental health or sleep and so on afterwards. So
also, I notice on the website, as well as all the information that you have there about breastfeeding and things, it also, you've got sections on clothes, the breastfeeding clothes you can get now, and other equipment, slings, for instance, as well. It covers quite a wide array of things on the website.
I think that's because in actual fact, breastfeeding is almost a parenting tool, and it's a way that you raise your children, and so it comes encompassed with lots of other things that are about how you parent and how you support your baby in their journey. And so we are more likely to wear a sling and carry our babies in a sling when we are breastfeeding, because it promotes closeness and responsiveness to our babies, and that's a really good thing for our babies. But we want to make sure that our families have really good resources to look at, that they're not being driven down into marketing holes where they maybe don't get appropriate information, or that the information can be kind of leading them to purchasing things, whereas the information on beside you is about understanding their options and how they could go about accessing things and what these things might look like for themselves, not rather than selling them a product.
To jump onto what Hayley's saying as well, I think we promote on the website that actually in most cases you don't need anything to breastfeed, but there's lots of, like Hayley said, there's lots of tools that can either improve your breastfeeding journey or support your breastfeeding journey, and many mums that able to share what they have learned through their breastfeeding journey, whether it is like clothing or, as Hayley said, sort of slings and things. But from a cost saving perspective, actually when you rock up to the hospital, if you want to breastfeed, you don't really need anything, and that can be really helpful, particularly in the current climate with trying to save money for for families when there's it's so expensive to buy most things.
I believe as well as the website, you're on Facebook as well, I believe. And I think I saw something about an app that's available as well.
Yeah, so the website has a whole wealth of information from supporting pregnancy to what you can do if you you're supporting a partner through breastfeeding, but also family members and cafes and businesses, for example. The social media channel is kind of aimed at championing parents, raising awareness of some of the topics that need to be talked around breastfeeding, but also we've got things like we put posts out in the middle of the night around breastfeeding at midnight, so trying to support mums that maybe in those early hours are really finding things hard, and trying to comfort them and let them know that they're not alone, and that tomorrow is a new day. And sharing advice, information, research, for example, about breastfeeding. We've done lives, for example. Hayley's previously been on and done lots of videos for us, particularly during the COVID pandemic. So we're able to give access to good support to our parents that maybe weren't able to get face-to-face support. So social media is a great channel for us. We're able to reach professionals, but our biggest aim is to reach, parents that are pregnant, and so that they feel comfortable to visit us once baby's here and get the right support and information.
I think one of the beauties of social media, is the connection of parents to parents as well, is that I'm not alone in that, and that which you don't get with a website. When you visit a website, you are alone navigating your website and you can't see anybody else. Whereas when you're on social media, if you are commenting and other people are commenting, you feel like you're part of a tribe of people who are doing the same thing, who might be up at midnight feeding their babies, and they don't feel quite so isolated and alone. And parenting, unfortunately, can feel very isolating at times. And I think beside you, that's the whole purpose, is actually connection, isn't it? It's connection with businesses, it's connection with other families, it's connection within your own family unit. And that's what helps us all to feel as if we're working together towards a goal rather than doing it on our own.
And we also have like a messenger service, so via social media. So a lot of mums message in to ask about normal behaviours for newborns, for example, and often that's a big question. It's particularly in those early weeks about whether this is normal, is this okay, and actually getting that reassurance from our team to say it's okay, this is the best place for information, or we might refer to some of Hayley's team, for example, to get support. So it's having that person, like Hayley said, that connection with people to be able to get that support and know that you're not by yourself in that.
Yeah, and I believe there's meetings as well, weekly meetings, places all over Medway, I think.
Yeah, we have sort of peer support drop-ins where if a mum is facing a particular problem or challenge, that she can book and come along to a session. And they do also have socials, which are every other week, which means that they can come along just to meet other mums who are breastfeeding and of babies of all varying ages, and they're run by the peer supporters. And that is that it's that mother to mother support, that building that connection in a wider variety of spaces, and celebrating breastfeeding rather than feeling like you are hiding it away in your house. These are places where it's really good to go along to a social and practice your feeding in public skill, surrounded by other mums who have also been through it or are doing the same thing as you. And that always really helps to build confidence in your feeding, but also you're getting tips and tricks, and you often trading off, oh, it was a terrible night, and oh yeah, we had a terrible night, but this one was better, and really cheerleading each other along. And that's really what peer support is all about, and that's where peer support fits into our Beside You campaign.
It's about awareness and making people realise that they're not the only ones who may have a problem. Other people have those problems, and by talking about it, somebody can say, oh yeah, I had that problem and here's how I dealt with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the other beauties is that in social situations, what we're doing is just you being out in public and feeding your baby is going to give somebody else the confidence to do that with their baby, because you do what you see in life. And if you never see someone breastfeeding, it never becomes an option for you. And I think that's kind of the hidden benefits of things like Beside You and our peer support groups and our social groups, is we're modelling behaviours for younger people, for older people, and for everyone in between. This is normal and this is what we want to do, and ask us questions about what we're doing, but don't be ignorant about it. And we are protected by law, so be aware of that, not just from individuals but businesses as well.
Beside You is a brand for normalising breastfeeding. It does, as Hayley said, it's about championing, it's empowering it, it's normalising it, but at the same time it's there to be a tool to be to reflect what the community needs. So we're continuously doing surveys and asking our audience, particularly on social media, about what they want to hear more of, the content. The website, although mentioned earlier, it's got lots of content, there's still so much more that we need and we want to have on there, and that's a time thing. It will take time to build that good resource in there. So it is just about ensuring that mums, professionals that are out there keep giving us that feedback, because that's how we improve the website and improve the the quality of our social media posts, for example. So it's meant to be reflective of what the community needs, and that hopefully will be continued as time goes on. And it only launched in October, so it's still very early days, and hopefully as time goes on this year we can get some really good developments on there as well.
Yeah, so it's constantly evolving. Okay, so how does someone find out, contact? We've obviously got the website, which is https //besideyoumedway.co.uk.
We have some stickers that go on red books, don't they, at the hospital?
Yep.
So there's a nice little purple sticker, and that's the red books. If you don't know, Hayley probably will tell you more about the red books, to be honest.
Our red books are they are a tool for the families, and they are a record of all of the baby from birth up until they're about 20 years old, actually, and it includes all of their vaccinations and examinations with the GP, eye tests, their NIPE screening. All of that is included in their red books, and it becomes a little log that you take to all of your healthcare professional meetings. But it is the parents, it's theirs to own, to love, to cherish. It's got bits for them to fill in about baby's first smile, when they first sit up, their first words, the teeth, all of those things in there. So it's a really beautiful place, but record of all of the things that go on with your newborn and your child in the first few years of their life. So we pop a sticker on those at birth, so the families have awareness of those, so that they can look at the site. But we also talk to them antenatally about Beside You. We encourage them to come along to our Hello Baby meetings, which are where they get to discuss responsive feeding, and they don't necessarily have to be in the camp of breastfeeding at that point, but they might just be curious as to what or how they're going to feed their babies. So we like them to come along to those sessions when they're in the latter part of their pregnancy, and if they come to any of the maternity education, which is called Welcome to Parenthood, then we talk about feeding at those points, and we direct them to Beside You, and the same again with all of our infant feeding resources. We direct them to Beside You, and really good resources, so they know how to access those things, and we really want them to try and play with them, like Fiona said, antenatally, so they become really familiar with them, really comfortable and confident navigating around, so that when their baby comes and they're sleep deprived, which happens to every parent, that they know search history, off to Beside You. I know there's a bit on there about infant behaviours. Let me have a look at that. I can trouble solve. And you know, when it's 3 a.m. and you don't quite know who to ask, off they go to Beside You and have a look, and they're sitting there reading to their partner saying, "Oh, look, this is totally normal. I feel this is good. Okay, I know what to do." And that's really helpful.
Yeah, it's good having that reassurance.
There's still a lot of work that, particularly with the new brand, that we've got to do around reaching more pregnant mums. So a lot of our plans for this year are around how do we engage more pregnant mums, and how are we at locations, or where do we have advertisements so that mums are able to see those things. So it could be, you know, out in restaurants within Chatham, for example, Gillingham, the backs of toilets, for example, where people might see those sorts of things where you're having a moment to ponder, so that you're able to trust the brand, know where to go for information, and be supported through it. But also the new brand that we've had done for Beside You has a different colour palette. So it's us being able to tailor that to, for example, to dads or to grandparents. So we're actually reaching out to people around a mum to find out more about breastfeeding, because the more they know, the more they can support their pregnant person to breastfeed for as long as they want.
Yeah, and the Facebook site, that's open to anybody. Yeah, and I suppose that's just Beside You Medway. Put that in on Facebook, and it'll find it.
Yeah, so we used to partner with Kent for Beside You, and obviously some parents that are giving birth at Medway, they might want to access Kent support, so they can access our website, and we've got links towards the support that's on offer within Kent as well, so for any parents that do need that. One of the really good things that we've had on Beside You since we've relaunched is an interactive map. So the interactive map helps parents to have a little look at support that's on offer, as Hayley said earlier, about sort of peer support sessions, whether it's specialist clinics, for example, but also venues across Medway that's supportive of breastfeeding. So you can pop on there, pop in your postcode, and it'll give you a list of local support that's closest to you, any socials that we're running. But also, if you're looking for just a place to go, you know, if you know I'm going to be going out in Rochester, where might I be able to go that might support me in my breastfeeding journey? There'll be, you know, lots of blogs on the map to sort of help recognise that. And I guess the caveat to that is, you know, if you are a business and you do want to support more breastfeeding, do get in touch. We're able to, you know, I guess promote you on there by saying that you support breastfeeding, and we'll send you a little information pack. So the more people we can get engaged in supporting mums, the better it will be for mums themselves.
Thanks, Hayley and Fiona, for coming along and telling us all about the Beside You Medway and the support that's out there for mums. And as I say, I mean, I looked on the website, and as you can tell, I'm not an expectant mum, but there was the information that was on there. I just found almost, I say, mind blowing. It was just, there was so much information on there. I think it's a really good site, and it's good to know that that support's there for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To find out more about breastfeeding in Medway, go to the website www.besideyoumedway.co.uk or search on Facebook for Beside You. If you'd like to hear more episodes in this series of podcasts, or indeed see our other podcasts, search for our podcast website in your browser, hospitalradiomedway.captivate.fm, or look for our YouTube channel, Hospital Radio Medway.
There's 4 easy ways to listen to HRM FM. Go to our website at hospitalradiomedway.co.uk and click to listen now. Go to NHS Wi-Fi on your device and find us there. Say,
play Hospital Radio Medway
to your smart speaker, or switch your radio on and go to 87.9 FM, the radio station for the Medway Maritime Hospital. This is HRM FM.